All right, I'm looking at it. Say we live. Who is that? Is that for me?
That's third.
Oh, that's there. Y'all let him in. All right, there you go.
Yeah, I let him in. I don't see us live, by the way.
I don't either, but I'm looking at the Oh yeah, we live. It's just 20 seconds late. We own it, War. All right, y'all,
Okay.
we own E.
Greetings, Black people, brothers and sisters. This is your Panther 48. My name is Brother E, the MOI Emeritus of the Panther 48, the usual cast of characters. Y'all can mute your whatever you got to mute in the background so we can keep going forward.
Hey, y'all, we own. My bad. Give me a moment.
Take just a couple of seconds here to kind of lay out tonight's show. This month marks 26 years or so, or 26 years since the lynching of a man named James Byrd Jr. in the city of Jasper, Texas. Looking back with everything that's going on in the world at this point in time, we thought it was necessary to once again chime in with as much of the detail and the ideas that were going on for the sake of not having them confused with what it is we see around us today. As usual, I have my chairman, the man who I'll always call my chairman, even though he hates to be called the chairman or my chairman, whatever it is. If you haven't done work with this cat, you haven't done work with the new Black Panther Party. Brother War, please say hello to the people.
Hey, all power to the people, folks.
Outstanding. The last third, the remaining third of the Panther 48 is the cat who y'all know as Big Brother, but me and War sometimes call him Little Brother because he's the youngest of the crew, and that's why I'm introducing him last, because he's the youngest, and that's the way you treat the youngest. So go ahead, Brother Psyche, if you would say hello to the people.
Peace and power.
Very nice, very nice. So like I said, tonight we're going to step back in time. We want to just really get a feel. We're going to kind of divide the show up in two parts. The first part is going to be us reliving the days. There were actually two of them that garnered all of the attention from the world. It's global reaction to what was happening. And so we want to kind of walk through in the first half and get folks that are on the show tonight to give us an idea of what it was they saw, what they remember, what stood out, any stories, what the vibe was for them. In the second half, we're going to get more into the aftermath, the follow-up, what happened in and around Jasper after we left. What are some of the things that folks got wrong and still get wrong about Jasper? So at this point, I kind of want to turn it over a little bit or throw it out a little bit to various members and have them introduce themselves in a particular way. When I ask you to introduce yourself, just as a parameter, you know how we do. We Black folks, we like to get on here and give everybody the autobiography of me and tell every organization we was ever a part of. So what I'm going to ask is that when I throw it to you, just give us your name, as well as your affiliation or your rank, your position with the party at the time of Jasper. Remember, we're recreating Jasper. Right now, it's Jasper. The new Black Panther Party is going down to Jasper. So if you would, the developer, the second man of the crew, the man who, for those of us who have been around, especially in the Dallas chapter, is another cat that doesn't really need much of an introduction. But Brother Foreman, would you please provide us with your name and what was your relationship to the party at the time? Relationship now, I'm saying, I don't mean you was upset with the party or y'all was on bad terms. What was your position with the party? Because I know how you do. But please, go ahead, bro.
Oh, my name is David Foreman. My position at the time, I believe, was Chief of Staff. I don't know. I don't even remember.
So David Foreman, Chief of Staff, and he's actually, I kind of, whether you know it or not, David, a lot of your personality and whatnot, I feed on when I think back and act out some of the things that I remember you doing. So I appreciate that. But yeah, you and me from that generation. Of course, again, as I said, a cat that is forever my chairman and who was key and instrumental in everything that went on as well. if you would, Brother Chairman, Mr. Chairman, give your name and your rank at the time of the events in Jasper.
I believe I was the acting Minister of Defense of that maneuver, thanks to David Foreman making me the acting Minister of Defense for the sake of the experience and being in control and the growth.
Outstanding. And your name was Robert Williams, am I correct?
Robert Ward.
Ward, my bad. After all these years, you think I remember. And last but not least, should actually be the first, but we wanted to save him in this particular lineup to give him all his due respect. This is the cat that I would say is the definer. You know, War likes to do the 3Ds: define, develop, and defend. We have the brother who was the definer of the new Black Panther Party. Brother David, of course, is that developer who was, from what I remember, in this man's ear, chatting things, having back and forth arguments, discussions, whatever about the party, doing what War and I and Psyche do for one another. And so, as I said, without further ado, I want to welcome Brother Aaron Michaels. Aaron, real quick, you didn't hear my parameters. Just give us your name and your position with the party, your rank in the party at the time of Jasper, and I'll break it down to you why real quick. Go ahead.
Aaron Michaels, founder of the new Black Panther Party, locally and nationally at that time.
And what was the what was your rank, your title? Because we ain't gonna forget founder. That's absolutely written in stone. Can't do nothing about that. But
chairman.
Okay.
Yeah, chairman.
Okay. So we have
And
the
as a matter of
chairman,
fact,
founder, definer of the new Black Panther
chairman.
Party, the developer, the second D, Brother David Foreman, and of course the defender. Like I said, if you know anything about the NBPP and you've worked any time with the NBPP, you know Brother War, because this man here, when he lived in Florida, we used to take the family down to the beach and go swimming, and I swear I saw him chasing sharks with his beret on. The man never takes the beret off. He's always defending it, always out there. So you know that's to his credit. So Aaron, what we're trying to do is we're going to divide it up into two. The first half is going to be us reliving Jasper. Right now, at this moment, for this part, we are in Jasper, Texas. And I want to start out with the 3Ds, you, David, and War, in giving us an idea of what, because you were more of the architects of what was going on, so to speak. So I wanted to start with you and I guess ask the question, why? Because, you know, a lot of Black folks get lynched, get, you know, murdered and all of that. Why did you decide to take us down to Jasper and East Texas in the summertime and have us stand outside? What was so significant about James Byrd and what went on in Jasper, Texas for you? How did that come about?
Well, first of all, we had heard about James Byrd, you know, through the local news feeds. We knew that he had been murdered at that time, but nobody knew by who. So my contingency was that you had Black communities not being able to stand up for themselves. Jasper sat on the edge of what would have been right near Louisiana, on the edge of Texas. And at that time, Black people still didn't know how to stand up for themselves. And of course, the new Black Panther Party was the only organization in the country who were defending the community against outside aggressive forces. You had a lot of organizations that were multinationalist in their belief system in terms of a pro-Black ideology, but there was no self-defense aspect of that. And the new Black Panther Party fit that mold. So it was important to us to go down there. As a matter of fact, I think around that time as well, there were several Black churches being burned down in the East Texas area and throughout the country at that time. I forgot to pull the actual number of Black churches that had been burned by outside aggressive forces or individuals that were not parishioners of those Black churches. But there were a number down in the East Texas corridor and around the Dallas, Arkansas area at that time. So this fit the bill. I mean, this was what we would call a modern day lynching of a black man at that time. And of course, the police department or sheriff's department at that time had not caught the people that had done it until they had gotten word that we were coming down there. And we knew the black community was frightened because the Ku Klux Klan at that time were planning on doing a march down through the black community. And so it was important that the new Black Panther Party go down there in force to show the Ku Klux Klan and any other white racist organizations that you're not going to murder somebody that look like us and then march your happy ass down through our community. So that was what was important. And during that time, we had already set out to say, as a matter of fact, we don't give a damn about your First Amendment rights. We don't give a damn about your Fourth Amendment rights. We don't give a damn about your Second Amendment rights. You're not marching down through this black community and destroying anybody. So that was the bigger deal for us. We're not going to let white people murder somebody in our community and then have free hand at marching down through the community. It just wasn't going to happen.
All right. So I like I said, I know you and David were real tight at the time. So I want to ask David or War, really, what was that when Aaron came and and I'm guessing, I don't know if Aaron, you got a phone call or something from somebody, had a discussion with folks. I'm sure there was communication with the family of the folks down in Jasper. What was that like? What was that conversation? Aaron comes to say, David, say, hey, we're going to go down to Jasper to do, X, Y, Z. What was your reaction to that, Dave?
Mine, I have to take you someplace else, brother E.
Okay.
You realize that I'm probably like maybe 4 or 5 years younger than Emmett Till. So that was my Emmett Till moment. I was too young to deal with it the first time.
Yeah.
Horrific death. So that was my whole mindset. And then you have to add into the fact that the man was close to my age. And I had been to Jasper numerous times. So technically, I had to go because of Emmett Till. I had to go because the man was close to my age. And the other thing was, it could have been me because I had been there. Probably when that happened, I'd probably been there like 3 or 4 months before that.
Yeah. So just to kind of, because it's a lot of folks, some folks won't remember it at all, some kind of vaguely remember it, but just an idea of what we were walking into. Brother James Byrd was walking down the street late one night, 3 white boys in a pickup truck rolled up, said, hey, you want to ride? Took him to a field, got him real good and drunk, beat the hell out of him, chained him to the back of a pickup truck, and then drove around these country roads with him chained on it till the parts of his body started falling off. And then when they were good and done with their fun, they dumped his body in front of a church. And I think it was the family church. Jasper, Texas was about 8,000 people. It was a rural, out in the country type of situation. And I'm wondering, I know that this is something, especially with Brother Aaron saying that the family and the folks were scared of standing up and whatnot. Was there did they reach out to us first? Did we reach out to them? Was there a communication war? Do you know if there was communication between the family and us, or did we just show up prime time type thing?
No, we got reached out to. I remember specifically, and I can't remember which family member, or was it someone of the that was close to the family. But the way I remember it going down was they was telling us that not only did he get drugged, but the Klan was gonna have like Aaron said, Klan was gonna go down there and march through the black community as a show of force that, hey, this is something that we did and we're proud of. So the black community was actually was frightened, not only by what happened with James Byrd, obviously that's a situation, but the fact that they wanted to showboat the fact that they did this. So they wanted to continue to let it be known that they're showing a lesson and making him an example. And one thing, not to jump too far in, I remember when I went down there, how far, you know, how it took me back in time simply because that was the first time I've ever seen a segregated graveyard. I mean, literally a fence through the graveyard. And the community, the black and white community was divided. You know, that's just how people live down there. So black folks were just literally scared, straight up scared of what the Klan to do. And Aaron and David, I would like y'all, if it's okay, E, for them to even talk about, because I remember there was a phone call when in regards to the police, the chief of police, letting them know about what we trying to when we trying to investigate and find out what happened, and that we coming down there, the chief of police having words with us. Can either one of y'all speak on that?
Yeah, and when you do, just as a reminder, there were the limelight. I'm gonna call it. You know, when all the cameras and everything came, there were actually two events. Correct? It was two separate days. We went and then we went back. So if y'all can kind of just cut between those two as well. Whoever wants to take War's question, please. Aaron, David.
Okay. Yeah, there were two separate events. There was an initial fact that we went down there, and I think a week later we went back because I think the Klan had planned their march a week after we had first left. The first time we went down there, we went down on the actual path and looked at where they drug him from and where his body ended up disintegrated on the highway down in that rural area. And I mean, you can still see, even then, you can still see the blood marks from the body where they had drug him all over the road, where his body just completely disintegrated. And when you look at the now, you can actually, I believe, you can actually probably pull that autopsy report. To see that type of thing in 1990s, the late 90s, meant that, again, black people, the law enforcement community was not going to stand up for black people, and they needed to stand up for themselves. So the initial part of us going down there was to let the black community know that we were going to support them 150%. And that meant that even if we had to stay down there, we were not going to allow any white racists to come down through that community again until we could get back. Us going back the second time meant that we were going to take a number of other forces with us in order to make sure that that march didn't take place. And it didn't matter. And what's interesting to me about the whole thing is that in the time that we were living in the late 1990s, for an organization like the Klan to think that they were going to have a free hand in a black community during that time, to me, was asinine. It was arrogant, and it was everything that those types of organizations stand for. And I just, for me and everybody else that went with us, Rob, David, you, everybody that went with us, we all believed in the same thing. It was above religion. It was above politics. We could not allow, as black men, for the brunt of our community, whether it be black women, black children, to take another hit like that after they had done what they had done to James Byrd. So it meant that we were willing to lay down our lives and go do this business. And we did that on a number of occasions when we went into Jasper. What's interesting to me is them same white folks who are peace loving at that time in that community wouldn't even go to the sheriff or the police departments and demand an arrest of those white racists. It took us having to go down there and bring national attention to the story in order for it to happen. And I think that's what's interesting about the whole thing, is that white people don't want peace, or didn't want peace at that time, and still pretty much don't want that same peace in this country unless their daily lives are interrupted. And I constantly tell young folks, if you're going to go protest, it can't just be about walking across the street or marching in front of a building. You have got to interrupt the daily life of those folks that you protest. You got to interrupt their daily lives. And I think that's the key to winning the war in your communities against racism and against hatred and any other element in the community. The two initial visits down in Jasper, the first one to let the black community know that we were going to support them 150%. The second time was to let that Black community know we were coming back, to make sure that the Klan didn't come down through that community and march at all. I mean, we were not going to let them have a first, second, fourth, third, 10th Amendment rights, or whatever you want to call it. We were not going to let them have it. Not on that day, not during that time, even if we had to die as individuals in an organization.
Nice. So my question, I guess, is which visit? Because War mentioned something about a phone call. Who got the phone call from the pigs, and what was that conversation like? I mean, did somebody tell them, fuck off, or was it a friendly thing? What was the kind of the conversation, and which trip was that in front of?
Well, let's say this. During that time, we knew that the FBI and local police officers who were part of the Dallas Police Department's Criminal Intelligence Unit were monitoring the situation. The local police departments, I had they called me into a meeting and mentioned that they wanted myself. I had a meeting with myself, and I can't remember if David was in that meeting or what. But I did have a meeting with the local law enforcement criminal intelligence unit guys, and in that meeting, I was told that the FBI, the Texas Rangers, and a few of those other alphabet folks were going to be down in Jasper, and that we should not come down any of that, and that if we showed up, it would be seen as an aggression against police departments and all of that. And I said, well, if that's their impression of the reason we come down there for is that we're against police, then number one, they got the wrong information. Number two is we are not going to abandon our community. And I told them that we're not going to abandon that community. And if it come down to them trying to take our guns or anything else from us trying to protect ourselves in that community, then I guess not only were we going to die, but we were going to have to kill those who were going to be aggressive against us and try to take our weapons. It didn't matter if it was police or anybody else at that time. It just didn't matter if it was the police. If they tried to take our weapons, if they tried to stop us from protecting our community, protecting our people, then we weren't going to be the only ones that weren't going home that night. We were going to also make sure that we take some folks with us into the afterlife.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that's the good shit to me, because, and I'm gonna bring in the boots on the ground cats. Y'all are the admins, y'all are the eggheads, and all of that stuff. Now I kind of want to flip it over and get an idea, a sense of what it was like from the boots on the ground type cats, the cats, because y'all was in the AC some of that time when we were down there having discussions. We were outside the whole time. It was hot. So I want to bring in, these are our just rewards to be able to talk about this now. We never got a check or any kind of, recompense for any of this shit. So this is our pat on the back. We get to talk about it. And so I'm going to ask the same. I'm going to go around with these three other cats and ask y'all to do the same thing. And I'm going to start with Brother Dark. If you could give us your name, just real briefly, your name and your position with the party when we went down into Jasper. You're muted, Brother Darkcide. That's you. Can you hear me? All right, somebody text my man and get his mic unmuted. So I'm gonna come back to Dark. Psyche. Oh no, there we go. Okay, you got it. Go ahead, Brother Dark. Your name and your rank and serial number at Jasper.
Name is Brother Darkcide. I was field marshal in Jasper.
Field marshal, very good. All right, over to my little big brother, Brother Psyche. I guess we was each other's right hand man, because our egos are both too big to be anybody. You can't be my right hand man because your ego. I couldn't be your right hand man because of my. You know what I'm saying? So we'll just say each other's right hand men. But Brother Psyche, if you could, again, introduce yourself and your position with the party at the time.
I'm kind of like David. I don't remember what my position was back then. I'm Brother Psyche. I think I was a soldier at the time, because when David was raised to National Minister of Defense, that's when I was raised to chief of staff for the local chapter. So if David was still chief of staff at the time, I was a soldier.
Very good. And this brother I did a lot of work with this brother back in Fort Worth, born and raised back in the day. A cat of the street, a cat from the street, karaoke be damned. This is a brother from Fort Worth, Texas. He's still doing this thing out in Fort Worth. Brother Isaiah, you go ahead and introduce your name and your position with the party at the time.
Well, back then I was AK-47 with Saad, and I was the Fort Worth coordinator of the organization.
All right, outstanding. So and brother E, I think I was the MOI at the time of Jasper. If I was, I did a really bad job because I should have had a camera. Huh?
You wasn't the MOI yet.
Okay, that's good because I had a shotgun and shit instead of a camera. But I could imagine it's probably because I couldn't afford both. So, you know, I went with the good shit, got a shotgun instead of a camera. Camera be damned. So Dark, and again, go around and after Dark and Psyche and Third have had an opportunity to kind of put in on their feelings and what they remember and whatever stories and whatnot. I just want to kind of go into somewhat of a free-for-all and get into a conversation of what it is we were feeling that day. You know, what was going through our minds, what were our attitudes about what was happening. So Brother Dark, run us down some of the memories you got. So why did you go? What did you remember? What do you remember feeling in the air? You know, what were the people like? You know, were folks acting scared of you, or were they coming up and chatting with you or whatnot?
Well, the reason I went was for the fact that they attacked the brother. And it was so gruesome at the time. I have never witnessed nothing like that in my lifetime. A man being drugged behind a truck by some racists. And I remember, man, it pissed me off so bad, I shut down the apartments. I made cats from the apartments go. I didn't care if they had parole, if they was on probation. I didn't care if they sold drugs, if they were jacking. I didn't care if they was a mechanic. Wasn't nothing shaking in apartments, bro. We got to go down there. And when we got down there, the people embraced us wholeheartedly. They was in fear. They was happy that we was there. They felt secure that we was there. Of course, like you said, it was hot. Attitudes was boiling. The first time looking at all those circles and the blood stains on the ground, it was unreal. You know what I mean? Like it was really unbelievable. But I believe what we done, I was ready for a fight. I wasn't going there. I really didn't want to protest. I protested because everybody else did. I wanted to fight. That was my biggest thing. I already started some shit, especially when the Klan showed up and we were sitting in the neighborhood waiting for them to come. I kept asking, why are we waiting here? Let's go to them. If they that way, let's go that way. You know what I mean? Instead of waiting for them to come our way. Like I say, it pissed me off real bad, man. I just wanted to fight. I wanted to destroy whatever I could, man. Yeah. That was my feeling.
Yeah, and I that's kind of the vibe I get from a lot of cats on the ride down there, from the music we was listening to, the conversation and the hypeness. That's a lot of what I remember too. Psyche, give me a little bit about what you remember about that time, because I know somebody told you need to get up and go when you kind of, because I know for the second trip, I think when we found out that the Klan was going, I don't know if you called me or I called you, but the only thing we really said, like off the top, is when do we leave? When did War say we're going? Like there was no discussion about should you think we go? We should call War and talk about it. We were ready to ride. You know, we just need to know when to be where. So tell me what was going through your mind.
Well, in the first one, keep in mind that this at the time and probably since was the biggest thing that I'd ever participated in. I was new. I was 22 when we went to Jasper. So these things was real new to me. And when we were sitting in those meetings, I'll be honest, I thought there is no way the United States of America is going to let a bunch of black dudes with guns march into a Texas city and just basically drag our nuts all over the place. I didn't think that was going to be allowed to happen. I really didn't. I thought they was gonna kill us. I thought we were going to war. Like Aaron was saying, that we got to take some people with us, and that's what was in my mind. I thought we was going down there, and when we tried to hit those streets with those, cause there was no compromising. I was sitting, like I said, I was sitting in some of those meetings when we was prepping, when we was loading up the cars, getting ready to go. Aaron wasn't saying, if we get down there, let's just be nice. Well, none of that. I didn't hear none of that. Everybody, all the elders were saying, we going down there and it's going down. And if they get out of line, it's going down. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is the war situation. I'm going to go down in history. So I was shocked when we got down there and they kind of bowed out. I was shocked. I was shocked with all the different law enforcement agencies that was down there. Even on the way out, when we was getting ready to leave, as we was leaving the cultural insights and we were loading the guns in the car, a cop pulled up on us and he commanded us to drop our guns. I think it was me, a few other the soldiers that was loading the guns, and the leadership, Aaron, David, War, and all y'all was inside. And we would refuse to drop our guns to the cop. And then Aaron, I think Khaled was there too. Khaled, all of y'all came out and y'all expressed to the cop that basically we wasn't going to follow an order from a non-Panther. And then when the cop saw what we were, he gave a sigh of relief. He was like, oh man, I'm glad y'all Panthers. Y'all remember that time when he stopped us along, I think that what's that 45, and we were leaving by the Forest Theater and they stopped all the cars. Yeah, they was nervous. They was nervous. And we saw the same thing when we got to Jasper. It kind of shocked me. I didn't expect that. But in my mind, we was going down there. They was going to try to subdue us or take our weapons. As Aaron said, we wasn't going to have that, so we were going to fight. And I'd already had in my mind that we were going to die. We was going to die. We were going to be martyred. I even made I can't remember if it was a CD or a tape back then, but I made a mixed CD or tape with all the No Limit Soldier songs on it. We was riding in Isaiah's Suburban, and we was riding and we was crunk. All the youngsters, we was pretty much in Isaiah's Suburban. and we was riding down there and we was screaming, "No Limit Soldier." I thought I told you, that's where we was at. And I'm gonna say this, just in case David don't remember. And so when we got back and we had the meeting, the debriefing meeting after we got back from the first trip, and we all sat around the table, and we was talking, and I think we kind of talked about this. We kind of brought up the fact that we thought they were gonna kill us down there. And David, I remember this like it was yesterday. And David, he kind of leaned back. You know how David is. He kind of leaned back. He said, "We knew y'all wasn't going down there to die." That's what David told us. He said, "We knew y'all wasn't. Y'all thought y'all was going to die." And I'm like, "Yeah, we thought we were going to die. We didn't think them people were going to let us come through there like that." David said, "We knew y'all wasn't going down there to die." And David said, "The reason why we took y'all, because I just wanted to show y'all something." And I said, "What was that?" David said, "I just wanted to show y'all some bad motherfuckers." That was David's response. And it was, and I'm gonna be quiet with this one. And I think that it was an effective demonstration, because you could have told us, black men armed, ready to fight, refusing to stand down, and knowing their rights are a threat to the local police, to the law enforcement agency. You could have told me that, and I might would have believed it, but seeing it with my own eyes was a whole different story. Seeing it with my own eyes is something completely different than reading a book about it. Seeing it, when black people fully armed, knowing their rights, willing to stand on their business, they deal with you a whole lot different than just the average ignorant nigga. They deal with you differently.
Most definitely. And I think we've mentioned it on the show before. When we came back, at least between me, War, and Psyche, I knew just them two cats and myself, in the back of our head, we were a little bit disappointed that nothing popped off. We were real disappointed that we got to come back riding in a vehicle this way, because that was in the back of our heads. Malcolm was the talk, and the party, Huey and them was the talk, and they got to get into some actual pistol play. Why I didn't get to get none of that was kind of the attitude. Like, I want to have that martyrdom. I want to go out for a purpose, a reason. you know. So, Brother Wasai, give us your input. What do you recall? What was going on in your mind? Your conversation with family or other members and whatnot.
Man, I
Well,
mean,
actually,
All right,
at the time, it was.
sorry, I sound
let
like
me
the
get
background, my
let
bad.
me
But
okay, go ahead.
what I remember most is that I was supposed to go to Houston that weekend. And for some reason, some just kept telling me, nah, don't go ahead, don't go. And so my wife and my kids and all them, they went on ahead and went. And she didn't understand why I didn't go. And I didn't really understood why I didn't go either. I just said, no, I just had a feeling, not to go. So they went, and then we got the call, hey, you know, we heading to Jasper. And I remember my nephew, in fact, let's back up because the day it happened, my nephew lived across the street. And he came to me and he talked about it. And he said, you think that can ever happen here? Because I know you living on the street, on our street. I know they can't come here. And I was like, nah. And, you ain't got nothing to worry about. You know how it is over here. We don't allow nothing over here to happen. Not even with, the drug dealers. They even knew not how to act on our street. So on that day, on that week, when they went on ahead and left and we got the phone call, I ain't even called my wife because I kind of feel like everybody else, there's a good chance we ain't coming back. Especially when they see if they see us with our guns, they're gonna take them from us. Because I didn't know about everybody else, but I wasn't giving up my gun either. And so when we went down there, and I could just kind of feel how while we was driving, those DPSs, how they were just sitting on the side of the freeway. You normally see some, but we saw a lot. So I already knew that they was tracking our movement. And when we got there, and I remember we kind of like ducked into some woods, I guess, to kind of group and coordinate. And I don't know if we did it on purpose, but kind of look, I think it was War. He looked with his binoculars and he looked down there and he said, hey, they getting set up. There was a helicopter. It was like a little small mini National Guard building. And we all looked and we were just like, yeah, they getting ready. They said, they don't even know we sitting here looking at them first. And that what I really remember most was the initial leaving and seeing that. And when we came back, I don't know, it just kind of felt because we went on the day of the funeral and I remember we walked down MLK Street and we met a lot of the people in the neighborhood because I remember Al Sharpton, all them talking about, we don't need to be there and, the community doesn't want us there, but the whole community came out and greeted us. And I just remember that one lady who had a baby, she walked through everybody to make sure her baby met Dr. Collick. And Dr. Collick had such a big smile on his face and he greeted the baby. And, they wanted us there. There was no doubt about that. So when I came back, and I heard all the negative, talk, and I was like, I didn't worry about it at all. But the second time we went and the Klan was there, in full force, and we was gonna be in full force. And I don't know if y'all remember Brother E and Brother Psyche and Brother War, when I mentioned y'all how the police was at my house one day when I came back from the meeting. And the police drove up and said, are you Isaiah Woods? I said, yes, I am. They said, well, we're watching you. We're watching you. And she drove off, that cop. So my wife didn't want to stay home, so she spent the night at War's house because, she didn't want to be there with the kids by herself. They know where we are. And I was like, yeah. And War, I don't know if he remember, but my wife stayed with your wife at your house while we went the second time. And when we went there the second time, I kind of saw a whole lot of agents that just wasn't DPS. Because I remember even some GBIs was there, you know, and it was just, and I noticed they kind of kept looking at our cars. And so when we got out and we went to Dr. Collins went out there to where I believe they found his body or whatever, and he talked to the people in the community. I stand guard with the cars, you know, because we was all parked on the street. And out of the woods was the Jasper police coming with their sniffing dogs. And at first they didn't see me. So I kind of stood out. And once they saw me, they stood there. And then about maybe 30 or 40 seconds later, they went back. So what they was going to do with our cars, I don't know. But some told me, I guess, when you hear that voice inside of you telling you to do certain things, and that's what I did. I stood there and I guarded the cars. I don't know what they would have did, you know. So those are my main things that I remember.
So, Aaron, what were some of the logistics that you had to go through in communicating and coordinating? I know War kind of got into a little bit of trouble with certain folks for his, I guess, some of his methods or whatnot, and kind of banged heads with some folks. But what were some of the kind of background things that you had to deal with? Because obviously this wasn't a protest, so to speak. But, you know, what were some of the things that we don't know about that you had to kind of maneuver around to keep things going in a direction that you wanted to go?
Well, number one, it's so weird when you are leading an organization, you end up being privy to having to be more of an administrator as opposed to soldier. And I think that was probably the most difficult part of my job at that time. And the reason I say it was a difficult, doing the administrative aspect of the organization wasn't hard. Making sure that you don't become emotional about the situation was difficult, because what we needed to do was show strength through the ability to go on a meeting, keep our emotions in check, making sure that we gave them the information that what our organization was there for, making sure that they understood that, and then telling them, this is the reason we're here. We are going to do these things right here. And if anybody put their hands on us, we was going to go to war. So that's number one. We sat in myself, Khaled, and I'm not sure if there was anybody else in that meeting. I don't know if David was in one of the initial meetings, and then he came back outside. I can't remember.
No, sir.
Oh, so David didn't go to any of the meetings, huh?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I couldn't remember. It was somebody else in that meeting, but the conversation was, the conversation went like this. I think I lost my picture. I'm gonna try to get it back, but I'm gonna keep talking.
Oh, we see you.
Okay. The initial conversation was that the FBI, Texas Rangers, Sheriff's Department wanted to talk to us, wanted to talk to the leadership. So myself and Khaled, and I think there was another individual that went into that meeting. So we went to the meeting. We actually went in. We told everybody else to stay outside. Everybody keep their cool until we come out. And I did leave instructions. I said, if we don't come out, y'all get a chance to go to war, because that means they holding us and not letting us leave. So that was the initial conversation. So when we walked inside, we went in, sat down. The only person that was in that meeting that was white was the sheriff. That was the only person that was in the meeting that was white. Everybody, they sent the Black Texas Rangers from Austin. They sent Black intelligence units from the FBI into the meeting. As a matter of fact, Black intelligence guys from Houston were in that meeting. The Dallas Police Intelligence Unit were not there, but they were all being kept abridged of the information that was going on. So one of the things that came out of that meeting that I thought was really interesting was the police and the sheriff asked us, were our guns loaded? And I said, why the fuck would we be walking around with unloaded guns? And I thought that was an interesting thing. So what came out of that was, well, y'all can't walk around with guns loaded. And I turned around to him, and Colin and I stood up together. And I said, you got to be out of your fucking mind if you think I'm gonna let some pig from another city tell me what to do when my life is at stake. And so the FBI and the Texas Rangers told the sheriff to be quiet. And so we kept talking and talking back and forth. And I finally said, you know something, we've been sitting in here for almost an hour. We ain't getting nowhere. So fuck this. We done. And so I stood up and I said, and I told them, they said, so what are you gonna do? I said, I tell you what, if any of you motherfuckers put y'all hands on us in any way, we gonna kill you motherfuckers. I said, and furthermore, we already kissed our families goodbye this morning. So we don't mind dying. It's just how many of you motherfuckers we get to take with us when we die. And I said, so you can figure that shit out for yourself. And I think when I came out, I stuck some rounds in the shotgun and cocked it. And so the lie that the media told later on, and that one black newspaper, and I won't call the name of that newspaper, one black newspaper carried that lie as well, was that the guns were unloaded. Well, that was bullshit. They said that just to make white people in that community feel comfortable that they were in control. Nah, fuck that. The new Black Panther Party were the ones in control of that situation. All the way from the beginning to the time we rolled up out of that damn ragged ass town. I find it interesting that even in the most feared times with white people, they have to make themselves feel comfortable with the outcome of what they think is coming down. Hell, when you look at the movie, I think it's called A Killing in Jasper, that they made some years later, that statement is actually in the movie about, they already kissed their babies goodbye, they willing to die. That was actually in the movie. And that was a true statement that we said. I told them we weren't giving up our guns. We're not letting the Klan march through the black community. None of that bullshit. That was in the first time we went to Jasper. The second time we went to Jasper, we ended up going down there to stop the rally that the Klan was going to have marching through the black community. That was the second time. And what the Klan decided to do, since we were bringing arms in force, the Texas Department of Public Safety's unit allowed the Klan to be in downtown Jasper and let them march in downtown Jasper. Well, shit, we decided that we wasn't gonna let that happen either. So we went to downtown Jasper. And so the police department said, well, y'all can be on the perimeter and the Klan can be in the downtown area doing their thing, and y'all stay apart. Well, we initially agreed just to get close to the Klan. That was the reason we agreed to it, so that we could get at least within distance of the Klan and see them. That's why we agreed to that. So once we agreed to it and we got close enough to the Klan, we just said, fuck it. And we decided to run down through there and whoop us some Klan ass. And I think that was probably the best time that black folks had ever seen the Klan get their ass kicked publicly. That was the best time the Klan ever seen. They got, I mean, you saw, and I don't know if you remember this or not, when we started whooping their ass in downtown Jasper and pulling them sheets and hoods off their heads, there was about 100 members of the Texas Department of Public Safety hid in a building upstairs. They came running down and helping the Klan get on those buses that they had. And they helped usher the Klan out of town. But we whooped their ass before they left town. I can guarantee they ain't gonna never get that ass whooped.
Wait. So you telling me, because again, you telling me that we went down there and actually put hands on the Klan.
Oh, hell yeah.
That what you telling me?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, we whooped that ass for him. We whooped that ass. And I think that aspect of it is in the movie. I think that part is in the movie.
That's what I was going to tell you. The movie lied about that. They didn't show that part. They lied. The movie had a lot of scenes that they lied about. And that was one of them. They lied about that part in the movie. So I'm glad you brought that up because the movie, the movie didn't show that. The movie did not show that.
Let me ask then, with all of this done and ego thumping and all of that, matter of fact, David, let me ask you this. You ready for war? I'm finna ask him the question, boy. Brother David, how long did it take? How long was the process? Because you were on the administrative side more so than me and the other cats were. You may not know directly, but I know you know about it. How long did it take for us to get permits to march on the streets down in Jasper? You go and file a permit with the city to get permission to walk down through the streets. Well, now how long was that process did it take for us to get a permit?
Man, I don't know nothing about no permit. That could have been for the trial or something. That might have been for the trial, but I don't. The only time I dealt with them people, the administrative side of that, was when they were going to put those guys, the first one on trial. That's the only thing I remember about that. A permit to walk down the street in Texas with a weapon, a lone weapon, there ain't no such thing. Now the judge from the trial put a perimeter around the courthouse. And that's probably when y'all had to fight because I had already learned my lesson. David will never, ever go into any place where other people got weapons and I don't have mine. So I stayed outside the perimeter. So if y'all got to beat the Klan up, more power to you. I didn't get none of that action because I wasn't leaving my weapon because I already knew.
Don't feel lonely because me and Psyche, we was out there with you. That was Aaron and them got to have that fun.
Yeah, let me speak on that real quick because and we can say it now. Going back to what Aaron said, we had not only did we have our weapons loaded, but a select number of us had some in the chamber. And it had to do exactly what Aaron said. If they don't come out the courthouse, because we already knew, and this is part of the thing that we understood just because of what we was up against. That if shit hit the fan, we wasn't gonna have time to cock around in the chamber. We would have got dropped. So we wanted to make sure we got one off. So we already had our shit in the chamber. That way we know we ain't the only ones gonna get killed.
I kind of remember
Darkcide?
I remember when I jumped out and got mine, you telling me lock and load. So I remember you were telling certain people as we came out, lock and load. You remember that, Dark?
Oh yeah, man. I also remember. Listen, I'm like you. I didn't get none of that Klan action either, and I wanted some of that Klan action too. You know what I mean? It was two things.
Matter of fact, excuse me for cutting you off, but matter of fact, and I got it because this picture, there's a picture that in my head is it's what Jasper was, and it involves. I'm pretty sure it was you and one of their pigs, one of their Texas Rangers or whatever, with the big cowboy hat on, and there was a cameraman in the background, but it was you and this pig standing toe to toe, face to face. Like shit's about to go down. You remember that?
Yeah,
you remember being in that moment for that picture?
Formation, and the motherfuckers, I told to make a perimeter and do not let them break our perimeter. And that pig walked up and thought he was going to be able to now. What's going to happen is you finna get everything you asking for. That's what that conversation was about.
Nice.
Yeah. And I took two things away from that. I seen our power that day. When you got everybody with guns, including the fire department, they even had people from the fire department posted up. Remember? And it was a scuffle that took on in front of the courthouse because the brother, Mr. Hadnot, was one of the ones arrested for taking the Klan sheet off his head.
Nice.
And you remember when Aaron and them went in there, they told us if they not having a certain amount of time, then go ahead. And I don't know if y'all remember, this is when I knew we had power. When that brother walked out that courthouse without signing any bond,
Right.
signing any paper.
Right.
We went to his land. We ate gumbo and shot our guns on his land.
Yes.
Because Aaron and them told him, man, we got 85 young black males out there that's been waiting to tear y'all city up. Y'all don't let this brother go. I don't think we're going to be able to hold him. And they let the brother walk out. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's when I knew we were some bad motherfuckers.
Yeah. I remember that. Well,
yes.
I know that the statement goes like this, and we have to always remember: power concedes nothing without a demand. The demand was that we die for our people, we live for our people, and we die for our people. And I think everybody that at that time in the new Black Panther Party, especially local chapter of Dallas, Fort Worth, everybody was always willing to die. Everybody was always willing to lay down their life. Everybody was always willing to take orders. Hell, I even took a back position on times we went into communities and do things because I needed to see that the people I was choosing to lead was ready to lead. And so I never had a problem taking orders from any brother that was within the organization. If you were in charge, whether you was Minister of Information, whether you was Field Marshal doing a maneuver in the community, if you told me to do something, I did it. I didn't have a problem with it because leadership always not only can lead, but a leader can always take orders. And I always tell folks, if we ain't making no new leaders today, so we got to create some. We got to grow some leaders. And I take that back to my son, who just retired 20 years from being a Navy SEAL. And we always taught him. We brought him to the picket lines when he was a baby, and we taught him how to lead as a child. And he ends up doing 20 years on one of the government's most elite teams in the world for almost 20 years. And he survived. Most people don't survive 20 years on the SEAL team; they end up dead. But I always taught my son to be a good leader, to be a good follower, and to respect his training. And that's what we all did. If we brought our kids to the picket lines, we wanted them to see what was going on so that they make better decisions in the future. Our kids were supposed to our kids who we brought into the organization were supposed to outshine us at the end of the day. And I think my son took that wholeheartedly by joining the teams. And so, I mean, hell, he was shooting when he was younger. He knew to respect the weapon, that you didn't pull a weapon on somebody unless you was willing to use it. And if you was willing to use it, you shoot to kill. Ain't no playing around with no goddamn guns and shit. Ain't nobody just holding this up in the air because we ain't got nothing else better to do. And I think what we see today in society is too many people who are now playing with guns and don't understand and respect what that weapon can do. That's number one. And I think you got people today who talking shit, who them same folks would have been around you guys' age in y'all 20s then. But these same guys today, all of a sudden they brave with a weapon in their hand. And I think we don't see any of that great leadership that we had in the 80s and 90s with the new Black Panther Party. It's like all of a sudden, it's people I meet now who claim to be in the new Black Panther Party. It's like, man, I ain't never seen you before in my life. Don't know nothing about you. Never seen you. You wasn't with us. And I think that's interesting, is that we now have people grasping a hold of the organization who are going to tell their story, write their book, and lie, because those are the people that we always have had to watch out for in our political, economic, and daily struggle in the Black community. So,
Ashe. And I agree with you 100%, Dark. I remember that shit. They took us to the house, fed us, gave us a place to stay because we stayed overnight. At one point, they took us to their mall, which turned out to be a Walmart with a McDonald's in it, walking around like it's a mall looking for girls and stuff. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's how small this town was. They took us to their club. That club had a dirt floor, and you had 18-year-olds and 80-year-olds in there with, B.B. King and Tupac in the same set. So that's how small this town was, but they embraced us and, wanted to bring us home and keep us as family. And I kind of, at this point, because it's kind of getting over into the later part of the show, want to get into and more or less a free for all. But to kind of start it off, my point with the permit thing is my understanding is we never, maybe War can chime in a little bit more, that we never had a permit. And I think that's one of the major differences between what we did and what they were doing. So War, could you tell us, because I kind of go back and forth between calling this a maneuver or operation or a protest, kind of define those for us and kind of lead us into some of the differences and the aftermath. When I say aftermath, I'm talking about the myths, the lies, like the guns not being loaded, things of that nature. Were there other trips that we made to Jasper? Was this just a one-off type of thing? So yeah, if you could start out by just kind of defining those three different things, I guess, a trifecta, so to speak, a protest, a maneuver, and an operation. You kind of give us a rundown and take us into that.
Well, I would say this: when we talk about it, it wasn't a protest because we went down there to defend the community, period. And it wasn't a maneuver, because on a maneuver, it's basically let's just go in and out, and we've done this one thing. But it was an operation, because what we ended up having to do is we ended up having to actually go in multiple times to make sure that the community remains safe during the situation. And one of the things that you got to make sure the listening audience knows is that if you go into a city that is already basically being terrified by the Klan on a daily basis, mind you, a segregated city in modern times, then some quote unquote outsiders coming in and ruffling a few feathers ain't gonna do nothing but make their situation worse. So we had to make sure that those people did not get the blunt end of our presence and basically, end up getting arrested, harassed more, and that there wasn't any additional killings like it happened with James Byrd Jr. And so we constantly went in. The deal is there was only two large operations, large scale operations to where we had to go in, but we continually went in and made sure that the people were safe and built with the community. And one thing I was expecting David to go off on in regards to the whole permit thing, because never at any point during Aaron's administration in the Panther Party, the Black Panther Party, David's administration, or mine, and all of us on here, had we ever even looked up the code as to what it takes to get a permit. I couldn't even begin to tell you the process about a damn permit. That just wasn't something that we would ever had done, period. That it ain't no such thing. So that was never our mindset. So we laugh at the idea of that. And kind of like Brother Psyche was speaking on earlier, we realized and saw what the power was of some disciplined black men who were ready to die. And you could see it in our eyes. That's another thing. It's one thing to just be saying it because you're trying to, showboat, but literally. And this goes back to something David did, and he probably don't remember doing this, but David used to walk around with a cup of apple juice. And David used to be laughing all the time and saying, and again, he reverted back after the mission. But before the mission, David would walk around saying, "We gonna die," and start laughing about it. And that's something David used to do to us. And so either if you were going to stay in the ranks of being with the new Black Panther Party in Dallas, that had to be your thing. You had to accept that. And one of the conversations I would say that it reminds me of being someone who had a family is that you at that point you have some hard decisions you got to make. Either you're gonna stand for something or you're gonna tuck your tail and go back home and act like you never took part in something. And those of us that remain members of the new Black Panther Party back then, we knew that not only did we look at as what we was doing as a worthy cause to actually die for, but we also had the mentality that this is something not only that we die for, but that we live for. So we live for the people and we serve the community, and we want to be the protectors of the community. So when I have at that time 2 little children and a wife, and I'm engaged in something that can take me away from being a father, I had to make a serious decision in my life that I'm going to make sure that what I'm a part of is a worthwhile, worthy cause. So that caused us to also strengthen what it means to be a Panther, what it means to be a part of an organization. And I think a lot of that kind of that message and that sentiment is not carried on. Enough of that is carried on from generation to generation within the Panther movement now, because people are not put in those type of situations. They can actually come through the doors and become a Panther and not have to commit themselves to that level of membership integrity. So we had a whole different level of integrity, and Aaron and David made sure that. So when when Cats joined the Panthers back then, you joined because you meant it. So when we got into confrontations with law enforcement, they could look in our eyes and see us and see just straight up, because they study psychology. They looked at us and they could see it in our eyes. Damn, them motherfuckers really mean it. They serious. We was disciplined, and you could look and see in our eyes that we were ready, just like they thought they were ready. But we had the mentality that we not gonna go home to our family. They got the mentality that they want to go home and that they're doing a job because they're getting paid to do it. So their intent is to go home to their family. So with that being said, it gave us a level of power, and we got to experience and see a level of power uh, that shows you the power of the people and power that a collective, organized group of people can do. So going back to one of the things David implemented and talked about when he said, y'all some bad motherfuckers, what he was talking about is the fact that if we as a people realize the power of standing up, the power of what we really have, and like Aaron said, power concedes power. Power only respects power. So from that standpoint, if as people we were able to do that across the nation, or we were serious about doing that in our organizations now, things would be a whole lot different.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Right. And this is kind of a free for all at this point, but I want to start it off with David. Continuing on that note, just the idea that one of the things we never did was to go and get a permit, as opposed to groups now going out, and that's one of the first things they do is make sure everything is safe. So you want to come in and be seen, and it's kind of like that part in the Panther movie from Van Peebles years ago, where the cats are coming in and interviewing to be a part of the party, and the one dude, I think it was Too Young MC, says, as long as I can keep my job and blah blah blah, I want to join the party. That's not where our heads were at. That's to me, that's one of the things that kind of differentiates what we did. We were going in for blood. We were going, this was it. This was our day. It's over. As opposed to today, people go out and kind of want to shine for a minute, feel like they did something and go back home. And building from that in any other ways, David, because you ain't talking much and I really want you to say something, because you always say good shit. But what are some other things that you see? Go ahead.
Let me break it down to you. Now I remember where that permit shit came from.
Here we go.
Very simple. A protest, you don't need a permit. A demonstration, you need a permit. So whenever you do your paperwork, or whenever you speak and say what you're going to do, if you say you're going to demonstrate, they can make you get a permit. If you say you're protesting, that's your constitutional right, and you don't need one. That's the difference. Now I remember where it came from. The other thing, when we're talking about living and dying, when you stand up to a cracker and you look them eye to eye, whether it's across a 10-foot distance, or 20-foot, or 30-foot, you know what? I don't know if y'all notice or not, but you can smell fear. I remember being on the picket line. They lined up 100 police. It was 8 of us just dressed in black, even before the party. And I could smell fear, and it wasn't coming from our side. And we didn't have weapon the first. Okay, you can smell fear. They understand that these motherfuckers came to do whatever the hell they came to do. And it don't make no damn difference. That's the mindset. That's what's wrong with our people now. We're not only scared of dying, but we're scared of killing. The party had to evolve. When they originally started, we wanted to die for the people. Then we got to the point where we realized we would have to kill for the people. Then I thought the mindset was we're going to have to, forgot what the third one was, but anyway, I made a mistake. The third one shouldn't have been whatever the hell it was, but the third one should have been to build for our people, because we can't have nothing unless we build it. Everything that we built in this country, it was for our benefit. They figured out a way to destroy. Eminent domain, or just basically Rosewood, Black Wall Street, they destroyed everything. So the reality is every time they destroy something, we got to build something. And then we got to be building in between. The reality is, I don't know if y'all know this or not. I knew at 9 years old, we was kicking these people's ass. Okay? 9 years old, I knew then. So all of the stuff about Jasper, I'd already been through all of that. We've all been through what we've been through as black men and women. We were already prepared for whatever it was. I was disappointed. When I told y'all I didn't think we was gonna die, I was disappointed we didn't die. You know why? Not because basic means. I had my normal amount of money and I had my stash. That, you know, I don't know if y'all do it, but as black men, you're supposed to have a stash that you keep away from your woman. I gave my woman access to everything. And I don't know if y'all realize this or not. Have you ever tried to get money back from a black woman? That's why I was mad we didn't die. Very damn near impossible to get it back. So my whole, you know, it was basically my, what do you call it? Bond money. Okay. You know, just mad money. You see what I'm saying? I gave her access to everything. And I told her, if I'm not back here by 12 midnight, load the kids up and whatever the hell you can get in that damn car and get your ass back to Chicago, because they ain't gonna fuck around and they ain't gonna let y'all live here in peace. If they kill me today, they gonna kill y'all tonight. So just get the hell up out of here. But I had to give her access to everything. Aaron thought I was mad about having to come home and pay bills. It wasn't the damn bill, man. I ain't care nothing about that shit. Okay? That didn't mean nothing. It was like, this is my lifelong stash. You know, my mad money for whatever. Because I already knew at some point we was gonna have to fool around and pay some money to get out of jail, or at least, I mean, I'm thinking in terms of Panther Party activity. I'm thinking about, it's like, if we can't hijack no damn planes no more, the original party could at least get on a plane and hijack it and go to Cuba. Like, damn, I can't swim that far. So you see what I'm saying? It's like, that's the disappointment in me. And the reality of telling y'all some bad motherfuckers, the reason for that is very simple. Y'all in y'all's 20s. When I went to Jasper, I'm in my fucking 40s. It took me 40 years to fuck around and realize what I was supposed to do. And y'all learned that shit at a young age, which means y'all was 20 years ahead of me. Okay? That's why y'all was bad motherfuckers. The living and dying and killing and shit, it was the reality that this is what we're going to have to do as a people. It's like, we can't share this shit with them. They ain't in the sharing. We got to take what the hell we want. The hell with them people. Yeah. Okay? That's the reality. So Jasper was like, that was basically the European warning. You know, it's like, I don't remember what movie it was, but this phrase was, up against the wall, motherfucker, we come for what's ours. And that's my mindset at all times. That was Cat. I can't remember in Atlanta.
Yeah, that's a saying that Bobby Seale said when he gave a speech in California. That came from that speech that Bobby Seale gave when he was in California.
Oh, okay.
About up against the wall, motherfucker. We come for what's ours. Yeah, that's Bobby Seale. I think all too often in the age that we live in today, and I don't know if people just didn't pay attention to the struggle. One of the things that was really prolific about us is that we had to pay attention to the struggle of the people that we were taking our cue from. We made folks read, not because we didn't have anything else better to do or y'all didn't have anything else better to do. We wanted you to understand why you were here. It's one thing to go through life, your whole life, and never know why you're here on this earth. We needed to make people understand that if you come in and join in the new Black Panther Party, you are here for a reason. You need to read about those who died for this struggle, who went to prison for the struggle, who were isolated and murdered and killed for the struggle. I never forgot when I talked to G, and I'm talking about Geronimo Pratt, who became a great friend of mine, even from the time when he was in prison all the way to when he got out. He said something to me that I thought was so profound. He said, "Man, I was in California in Folsom Prison, and one of the guys in prison bought him an article about an organization called the New Black Panther Party, and he started reading that article, and he said he never forgot it. And when he came to Dallas, and I think that's why he and I became great friends. Geronimo Pratt said, "Man, you took who I was and began to live that thing because I couldn't. I was in prison." And he said, "You took that thing and you made it part of who you were. You and those other guys." He said, "Man, I am forever grateful that the life that I had lived as a Panther was able to translate to other young people." And I never forgot that. And so he and I became great friends because of that. Geronimo's no longer here anymore, but his work, his belief, should be carried on, should be still going on today. And I think all too often people get caught up in the same thing, that people begin to romanticize this whole thing about guns, and it wasn't about the guns. It was about living and dying for the very beliefs that you have. And that's one of the reasons we never brought religion into our organization. We refuse to let people, I don't give a damn what your religion was. We refuse to let somebody come in our damn meetings or come on a journey with us and be praying. And I don't care who you were praying to or what you were praying to. You just couldn't do that because we had gone beyond religion within the new Black Panther Party. We understood that part. That's personal. We had gone beyond that because we knew that what we were suffering had nothing to do with what we believed in. And I think all too often today, especially as we got out of the late 1990s into the 2000s, and how people brought that whole thing about religion, especially Islam, into the new Black Panther Party. And I think that was one of the greatest things, travesties of the new Black Panther Party in the year 2000 all the way up until now. And now you got a bunch of gossip barns, you got a bunch of gossip artists. We didn't have social media back then, and thank God we didn't. That we didn't have social media back then, because I see that also as a major issue within Black organizations in general, that they talk too much. They can't never shut their fucking mouth about what they're doing. And that's going to be the undoing of our community in the millennium that we're living in today and beyond.
No doubt, no doubt. Psyche, wasn't it Geronimo Pratt, when he one that told Pac, if they come for me tonight, they're coming for you in the morning? Something along those lines?
No, that wasn't
I know Pac put it in one of his songs, but now David didn't, huh?
He put it in one of his songs, but that wasn't Geronimo Pratt, I think, that said that. That was hold on, let me get it right. It slipped my head, because he said, whoever it was, they essentially said that when they was arrested, they said that they told all their Panther brothers that you need to duck, you need to run, you need to hide, you need to prepare. And the reason that he said that, because they coming for you. You ask me, how do I know? because they came at us last night. And if we're in the same line of work and they came for us last night, then you can guarantee they come for you in the morning. But I can't remember who said it. It's they made a book actually called In the Morning. I thought I had it, but they made a book called In the Morning with a lot of those the speeches and excerpts in it. I don't think it was Geronimo. It might have been Geronimo though. Was Geronimo? Geronimo wasn't a was he wasn't connected to Paco, was he? Geronimo from the West Coast, if I
He
remember
was,
correctly.
yeah, Geronimo
Yeah.
was the godfather of Tupac.
Okay, yeah. Then
Yeah,
it could have been Geronimo. It could have been
yeah,
Geronimo then.
Yeah,
Geronimo
that's why I was
was
thinking that.
Yeah.
But so building off of what David kind of laid out with the die, kill, and build type of paradigm, what happened after those days? Did we make any other trips? Did we keep in touch with the family? Because everybody thinks that we just went down there, blew up one day, and then just disappeared. What happened after that? Were there more conversations?
That's the
Okay.
book.
Angela Davis. Okay. Probably, shucks. I'm trying to think the last time I went down to Jasper to check on them people. I've been here 10 years, so probably 11 years ago, I went down there. Before I left, I went down there. And I'd been going down there periodically checking on those folks because it's like, it's literally the mentality of no soldier left behind.
Yeah.
We went down there and taught them people how to stand up, and it wouldn't make sense for us not to go back and keep checking on them and keep making sure that they stood up and did what the hell they were supposed to do, because we empowered them people that day. We empowered them. I mean, it's like we had that town, I think it was probably 3 or 4 more little towns and a few people out of Louisiana. They had the funeral and they had Missy Jesse and somebody else at the funeral, and we had everybody else in town. It wasn't a James Byrd first or second cousin. They had the family over there, probably 50 people, and we had everybody else with us, which means we empowered the community. And they even got to see what actually happened in terms of the white folks give you some money and then black people shut up.
Yeah.
So the community got empowered that day. They started to understand the capitalistic system, that it's like they got paid and they don't want nothing to do with us. The only people that didn't embrace us in that whole community, I'm talking about probably for 40, 50 miles around, that didn't embrace us was the James Byrd family, the mama, the father, the brother, the sister, the uncle, the auntie, and the grandma. Everybody else embraced what we were doing because they knew we were there for them.
Yeah.
But David, real quick, let me jump in on that. That had a lot to do with the fact that Jesse Jackson was right there with the family. And remember, Jesse Jackson went in with the whole attorneys and like remember this is back when before you had a Ben Crump. So the deal is, hey, we're gonna get you paid, we're gonna get you justice. But in order to do so, you got to stay away from this group. You got to stay away from this. So from that standpoint, and the weight that Jesse Jackson carried in terms of his presence and who he was, and that you're talking money on the table, whether they got it or not, I don't know that part. But the whole point is that Jesse Jackson went in and dealt directly with that. And we also got to keep in mind that the United States government at that point in time, this is when, if I'm not mistaken, they were letting Jesse Jackson take the Air Force One places. Okay, so this was their method, the United States government's method of trying to suppress the fact that this could turn into a powder keg. That goes back to what David was even Aaron was even saying about all of the different organizations, governmental agencies that was there. One thing I do remember, and I don't know if you wanted to speak on that, Aaron, is that when we made the initial contact, the deal is that they kind of made it sound like from the government, the police chief, is that, like you said, if we step foot in there, they're going to arrest all of us. And it backfired. And because it backfired, that's why the FBI and all the other federal organizations had to step up. And they literally had to suppress that local police department, because that local police department were basically members of the Klan. In order to prevent them from doing some dumb shit, and causing us to retaliate, or causing us to have to pop off right off the bat, they had to suppress that local police department in order to keep it from really being a race war. Now,
Well,
if
I
y'all
didn't.
see Aaron,
They took
Aaron dropped out.
pressed them. They took control of that sheriff's department. Okay, the what do you call them? The state troopers. They took over that sheriff's department. The sheriff was no longer in charge. They had to basically remove them and put them under the Texas Rangers, because the cracker probably would have tried us.
mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no doubt. That was the hope anyway. I remember two things real quick, and I want to give it to Isaiah and Dark to get in on it, and Psyche too. But I remember two things stood out to me, or I don't know if they stood out to me, but I remember them because they were weird. But one of the things I remember, I don't know if he did it to y'all, but you know how bulletproof vests have different ratings, and you can tell what it is they can stop based on those ratings. This dude, whichever way, I don't know where his picture is on the screen, but this dude wore, I remember, we got these rifles and shit. He tapped me on my arm talking about, watch this. He starts shouting out these ratings of bulletproof vests and watching all these cops turn around and look like they were just thrown off the fact that, you know, we know about that stuff. And I'm like, you antagonizing folks. I mean, cool, but, you know, stop that shit. But the other thing I remember is, and I guess it was just me, and maybe it was David in my head, that, you know, a little part of me that's like David, but it was weird to me that everybody seemed so serious. I mean, you know, it like when I looked at the cops, they acted like, I don't know. They just had this different world, like I don't know. And I guess in my head, this was fun. This was it. I was living the dream. That was literally, you know, in my head, the only way you go out is like Malcolm. That's the only acceptable death. So this is like, cool, let's do this. It's a joyous moment. Let's ride this out. But they just always look so serious. And it was just funny to me how serious they were taking it, which, you know, in hindsight, I was a kid, you know, but at this point I can look back and say, well, yeah, they should have been taking it seriously. Which, again, not to make light of it, but this was our moment. So there was an air of superhero shit. There was an air of, I want to say fun, but an air of just that energy of appreciation for what it was we were about to get to do, what we were looking forward to. So that type of, you know, whatnot. And I'm hoping I see the founder fell off, hoping he can get back. We know he's got a lot of other things to do, on a lot of stuff on his plate at this point, but hopefully he can chime back in. If not, appreciate the hell out of the man being here. But yeah, so Isaiah and Dark, Psyche, y'all give me some feedback. Anything like those? I remember there was one cat, a member of the party that I think it was Ali, went to step on one of the reporters. He was like, get out of my way, and tried to actually step on them because they were up under them. They were impeding our walk, you know, our nice Sunday walk through the streets of Jasper. So, I mean, any other things that kind of pop into your mind that you recall from that touched you along those lines?
Well, I do remember that what you were just talking about. I remember Ali because he was hold my line. I think Darkcide was in charge in the field at the time because he was the field marshal, and he had already given the order to not allow anybody to come in between Panthers, not to allow anybody to break our lines. And I think a reporter was trying to get him a nice shot. And Ali told him to respect his line. Reporter, you know how reporters are. He kept trying to get in there with the camera. Ali took the rifle and pushed the reporter, pushed him back. And the reporter looked at the cop, because, you know, we had cops all around us. Texas Rangers, they was all on every side of us. And he looked at him, and this was funny to me. I wish I had this on a video recording, because the reporter looked at the Texas Ranger like, you gonna let him do me like that? The Texas Ranger looked at him and told him, respect his line. And we kept going.
Yeah, bitch.
Yeah. And you know, my mentality, and me and Dog probably had the same thinking, maybe David too, because David have a similar background. But coming from where we came from and dealing with the wars that we dealt with in the places that we came from, living like that, dealing with guns and dealing with the possibility of gunfire was normal. It was nothing that was frightening. So for me, it wasn't fearful to me. For me, to be honest, and this might be a little bit of romanticizing the situation. Again, I was 22 years old at the time. To me, it was an honor to go somewhere and possibly die for something that meant something other than being in the streets and murdering and being willing to die because I'm from South Dallas and you from East Dallas, or that you wear this particular color and I wear this particular color. To me, there was honor, and it's something that I said the last in the show that we did, and I haven't posted it yet, but we did a show and I talked about the difference between how Huey dealt with the police when he was on the right side of right, and how he responded to the police when he was on drugs and he was running from the police. It's a whole different, I think it's a whole different spirit that's in your body when you're operating from righteousness sake. And so I don't go Aaron coming back. And so that's how I saw that situation. Again, and it's kind of like what David said. I learned a lot of things that day. I didn't know that we was as powerful as we are. And we wasn't like I told, and I'm gonna bring this up. Like I told a lot of guys in prison. When I was in prison, I was talking to a lot of these guys, and one of the number one things they asked me, no matter what unit I went to, was how did the new Black Panther Party march into Jasper with no bullets in their guns? And that was and I used to tell them all. I said, you're reading the books, you're reading about COINTELPRO, you're reading about Malcolm X, you're reading about how devious the media is, you're reading about how devious this government is, but you believe that. You believe that. I can guarantee you there is nowhere in the world those brothers in the new Black Panther Party that I was riding with back then, there is nowhere in the world those brothers would have allowed them to take our bullets from us or us to even march into a city with no bullets in the gun. Matter of fact, these brothers thought like this. I know how they think. It ain't a gun if it don't have bullets in it. If it don't have bullets in it, it ain't a gun. It's a paperweight. Don't bring it and show it back to me once you put some bullets in it. I don't know what that is you got. And I was explaining that to a lot of the brothers. And as Aaron brought up earlier, there was a black publication that published this, and that's why a lot of those brothers believed it, because that black publication had a lot of respect in the black neighborhood. So in the old brothers down there, they was getting that publication. They got a few of the few publications, black publications. Hell, they even had a Black Panther paper from California. They had all kind of stuff. So they was researching and they was studying. They was looking at this and they was admiring this. And they had publicized the idea that we went down there with no guns. I do remember the second time we went. I think it was War that got hold to a lot of plastic clips that was clear so that they could, without a shadow of a doubt, see that our bullets had guns in them, that there was no doubt about it. And as y'all talked about it earlier, there were certain people that already had bullets chambered just in case. So we was out there doing an operation. You may call it an armed protest, but when we went down there, and we operated and moved like people that knew that gunplay was inevitable. And even when Aaron and them went into when they went into that meeting and they had to relinquish their weapons, we was told to make sure we stayed on top of ours. Like Aaron was said earlier, we don't come out, that means something wrong happened. And it's time to set it off. And we knew this. Wall wouldn't allow me to carry a weapon because at the time I was on probation. I'm 100% completely clear of the shackles that they've had on me since I was 14 now, finally. But back then I wasn't allowed to carry a weapon in the field. But even then, I had somebody with an extra weapon on their back so that if it's set off, I could be able to put in the work too. So we was always ready. Everything about how we moved in the field was tactical. It was strategic. The right people was giving orders in the field. We all knew to follow the order. We didn't question them. We just simply moved. So we was ready. It would have been a bloodbath if the police would have got out of line that day. There's no doubt about it. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
And I agree 100%, but I don't appreciate you not giving me my credit though. That I had that rifle, goddammit. I was carrying two of them just in case. So that was me. Oh, and just in case, because I know you was having some technical issues there, Aaron, brother, Mr. Founder. So I want to do this real quick, and I'm gonna give it to Isaiah and Dark to chime in a bit. But I want to do this just in case there's some issues and you have to pop back off. Y'all know what this is? Y'all recognize this shit? Much
It's
as
a
I
beret.
hated it,
It's a
much as I
beret.
hated it, I hated wearing a goddamn beret. I just did not like wearing a beret because of the way it looked and everything else. But this is the only time this is from Jasper. This is the only time I'm gonna put this damn thing on, War. I ain't ever putting it on again. It hurts my head. I don't like the way it looks. I can't get it to ride right. They told me I look like Che Guevara back in the day because I had the curls and shit in the back, but I'm gonna put it on one good time because we may never get this opportunity with this many of us who were down there at this huge ass event that essentially let the world know that now the Panthers are still here. The spirit is still alive. There are still those of us who refuse to lay it down and put everything on the line. So yeah, that's for you, Aaron. That's my beret. I ain't putting it on no more. Get a good look, take a screenshot, whatever you got to do, because that shit's over. So now, Dark and Isaiah, if y'all want to jump in and y'all want to pop back and forth. Oh, really? Really? This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Really?
There we go.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, that shit. That shit. I never should have put that in the damn Dropbox. You a bard, Psyche. So yeah, Dark and Isaiah, what y'all got? What y'all some more memories of the shit that went on? What songs or what you heard them talking about or whatnot?
Well, I guess for me, when I was walking, I was always the observer person. I always look at beyond our perimeter lines, and I look a block away and things like that. And I've always saw how the police was just constantly trying to tell people not to come because they was coming, you know, getting in some of the cars. They started making a long line, and they were still just like trying to block cars and trying to block people when we was marching
There
from
you go,
coming
third.
in. It was like they couldn't stop them, but they was trying to slow them down with that little intimidation. And I've always observed that when I kept looking around, like I see that it could have been more people following us. We could have had a longer line because everybody was coming. And like I say, in the distance, you can see some of these different agencies, and I noticed that one of them, like they had like the GBI on them, and they was talking to some other guys from the police department, and you just notice stuff like that because that's what I always did, and it was just kind of, and the most thing that really got me was as I looked all the way around and I seen who was with us and who was not. It seemed like once when we actually stopped, I think it was at a park or whatever, just to, I guess, take five. All of a sudden, and I ain't trying to, start nothing, but where did all these FOI guys came from? You know, I didn't see them in the line. I didn't see them in the distance. But when we stopped, I saw a whole bunch of them going through interviews with the reporters and all that. Like, we all stopped and they stopped with us. Where did y'all come from? And maybe Brother Aaron can kind of enlighten me on that, because I was observant throughout the whole time, from the time we got out of the cars, from the time we got back in the cars and drove, and I didn't see none of them. And they wasn't just like in the bow tie and the suit. They actually had FOI, MFOI, something on their head. So I don't know if you know anything about them.
Well, I think
or
I think number one is that this was an event that was going to change the course of history for Black people in that city, and it did somewhat. Even though those Black folks in that city didn't ask for much from white folks in that city. The best thing, and you can see it, it's in the movie, so you can go see this. And I think, I don't know if it was Brother Psyche or Brother David talked about this earlier, but the segregation in the cemetery. That was the only thing that changed in that city after the death of James Byrd. They took down the whites on this side and blacks on that side sign down in the cemetery. So in death, not only will white people control the lives of black people in life, but in death we get to go with them too. So I think that was disappointing to me. Number two is one of the things that we do know for a fact, and this was during the time that it was right. I don't know if this was right after James Byrd's death when we first went down, or the second time we went down. I'm assuming it was the first time we went down. Is that Missy Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton were down there, and the first thing that the white sheriff told us is, well, we got Reverend Jackson and Reverend so and so here, and they already wanted us to tell y'all that y'all don't need to come down here in March. Y'all don't need to come down here in March because they got it well in hand. Well, hell, number one, Clinton flew them down on Air Force One to corral that shit. This is how we know this was a major event in the lives of black people, because Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton got flown down there to Jasper, Texas on Air Force One. And so that's how you know these are life-changing events that white people could not afford to fuck up. And so they didn't leave nothing in the hands of Texas law enforcement, but then pretty much the FBI took over the control of that whole event from local police. That's why they had black Texas Rangers there. They had black FBI agents there because they wanted us to feel comfortable with black people. The problem with that was that it didn't matter who had on the badge. You represented an ideology that had become enemy to black people at that time because you weren't doing your fucking jobs. You were letting black people die, and when we first went down there is when they remember now when we first got down there, that's when they arrested them motherfuckers. They knew who they were, but they hadn't arrested them until we got down there. And so that's what I find interesting about the whole thing. Missy Jesse, they tried to put these black folks up against us, and they always do this shit. They always want to show the nice Negroes, and that part of our black community has existed since black people started protesting for their freedom in America. They always show up with these house Negroes, and they still got them today. They still out there, and most of them have infiltrated into black liberation struggle. Most of these Negroes have infiltrated into black liberation struggle. And it's the same thing that when I went on trial for four, they tried me for 5 felonies and 5 misdemeanors all at the same time. That's how you know this shit is beyond you. It's what happens to you is beyond it's what will happen to the black community for speaking up. And so I find it interesting that in Dallas when they were trying me on those cases, that we knew who the infiltrators within the organization were at that time because it came out in my pretrial hearings. And those same people sat in meetings with us, the ones who had infiltrated within the organization and were working for the Dallas County Sheriff's Department and the FBI. We knew that. And one good thing about it, since we putting this all out on the table, we had people inside the intelligence community giving us information. So it was on both sides of the fence. They was infiltrating us and we had infiltrated them. And so that's how we were able to get information inside our organization from the outside, from law enforcement. So we knew what corner not to go down. We knew what street not to go down. We knew where they were and when they were at all times. Because I had my folks inside the departments giving us information that they were feeding to them. And so that's one good thing, is that we stood on principles. We weren't just out there because we wanted to carry guns. We had a principle that we lived by, and that principle is what saved us at the end of the day. Because you can't try principles. You can only try an individual, but you can't kill You can't kill the idea. You can kill an individual. You can't kill the idea of freedom. And I think people miss that whole thing. Us living and dying for the people is not about us as individuals. It's always about the struggle and liberation of people and people in general, not just Black people. There are some poor and oppressed folks all over the world that have been oppressed by Europeans all over the world. And so I think we often forget that whole thing. But yeah, we had to put Messy Jesse in his place, as well as all those other Negro ministers that they had in their back pockets. We had to break our foot off in their ass too. And we told them if they bring their ass out here, we're going to kick the shit out of them too. So it didn't really matter to us at the end of the day. So, you know, that's the one thing I think we need to all take from this, is that I was always willing to put my hands in the lives of those that we helped train. That made a big difference. I was never an egomaniac about leading anything. I didn't never want to lead in the field. I always wanted the people that we were training to lead in the field, because I knew if something happened to me, that hell, the struggle dies if they kill me and y'all can't lead. So that's why it's always good to share organizational structure and power within an organization. And one thing about us is that we always took applications on people. We knew who the hell was in the room. We knew who was sitting next to us in our meetings. We took applications on people. We did deep background checks on folks. So we knew who was there. So that's the other side that I think is missing from organizations today, is that nobody takes an application on nobody. You don't know if a person's mentally ill or what that's sitting next to you. You don't know if this person is taking medication and ain't got no business sitting in the room with members of the new Black Panther Party. Or you know, it's some things that we don't shouldn't feed. If a person is mentally ill, they have no business sitting in the room with you while you're making decisions about life and death, because that person is mentally unstable, just totally mentally unstable. And I think that's a big problem in Black organizations all over the country right now.
No doubt. And I remember Jesse. I think his solution to the situation was everybody start walking in pairs. Don't go anywhere by yourself. That was their solution. Just pair up. That was their
solution, right?
So somebody could tell your story after you was dragged behind the truck. Darkcide, I saw you giggling or kind of snickering a while ago. Somebody was saying something, and I'm thinking that struck some type of something in your mind, some memory. So why don't you share that? Don't be stingy. Let us in on.
The biggest thing I remember was Jasper didn't only mean something in Jasper, it ended up meaning something in Dallas. Because I don't know if y'all remember, my partner and them that I brought from the apartments, because remember I shut down about 3 sets of apartments and had everybody to come down there with us. And my partners ended up on Jet Magazine on the cover, Lil Frank, Kevin, and Joker. And I think somebody else, but they ended up on the cover of the Jet Magazine. And what it did was, while we went to Jasper, back in Dallas, I had been having my own battle with the police in the community. And, a lot of them, they used to tell me, Darkcide, chill out, man, you're going to make it worse over here. Chill out. But when they drugged James Byrd, it touched everybody. I don't think it was too many Black people that wasn't touched by that, period. And it touched all the cats who was telling me to stand down to the police. Now they wanted to be in some action. So when we took them to Jasper, Texas, and they seen how one, we was so militant. 2, we was well disciplined. 3, we maneuvered like we were supposed to, like an army. And when they seen how them folks respected us, feared us, whatever words you want to use, it solidified some things back home that we was able to stand on. You know what I mean? So now when we're dealing with the police, we dealt with them the same way we dealt with them in Jasper. We all stood up. And it stopped a lot of the police brutality that was going on in apartments, them jumping on folks, illegally running in people's houses. Just because a person see the laws come to apartments, they get up and go in the house, law running in behind them, tackling them all over their table and arrest them, evading arrest. you know, and it just changed. It changed a lot of mentalities that led us to be able to have a different type of unity once we got back.
So all of this being said, we got about 10 minutes left. All of this being said, I want to kind of go around the room, and I'm gonna end up with you last, Aaron, brother founder. Just so you know, be on notice. We're gonna come around to you on the end. But I just want to kind of go around the room and ask one question to everybody. Keep in mind, we got 10 minutes. We want to kind of spread it out a little bit. I'm gonna start with you, David. Knowing what you know now, would you still have done it then? Would you still
100 times? 100 times. Every second of it. Every second of it. I do want to add one thing before you go to the next person. The other thing that we don't have now that we had then, in terms of the weapons, we had a thing where if you saw somebody aiming a weapon at me, it was your responsibility to take them out or take the round. And that applied from Aaron down, which is not what we have. We have puppets or people propped up to be leaders, but they don't understand the responsibility for mankind or for each other or for brotherhood. I just wanted to add that in.
I agree, and I think that's a most profound point. Absolutely, definitely one of the things that are missing. But to take from what you said, it's absolutely hands down, no hesitation, no thoughts, no regrets. You would do it again. So, brother Isaiah, same question to you. Knowing what you know now, would you still go back and do both of them, one of them, whatever it was? Would you do it again?
Most def. I'm definitely glad that I did not go to Houston, because like I say, I was dead set on going, and for some reason, something told me not to go, and my family went, and I stayed. It's the best decision I made.
Well, we glad you went too, because we rode in your Suburban.
And it was true.
Dark, what you got to say?
Oh man, that's without a doubt one of the easiest questions down in life, man. Hell yeah, I'd have did it again. And I wish I'd have done even more damage. You know what I mean?
Psych, what would you do, bro? Would you do it?
Oh yeah, you know that most definitely I'd do it again. No doubt about it. And yeah, no doubt about it. That was a matter of fact, it's ironic because, and I'll make this quick, and we all know this, the things that we go through is what shapes our character. Going through that in Jasper, seeing how strong we were as a unit gave me the same type of strength to do the same thing in prison. Because a few times in prison, I had to rally the brothers up, and we had to do that. And we every single time we did it, we got our way. Every single time. So yeah,
so those
definitely.
So Jasper and the party as a whole kind of shapes your abilities and what you understood about the content of our character and what it could actually produce. A lot of that you used and held you together while you was in Jamaica with Pac and Biggie drinking daiquiris and shit. A lot of that shit came from the party that allowed you to build while you was locked up and confront them face to face. And David, I do remember you were talking about it's our duty to take them out. I remember two things, looking up at one point and wondering where War was, and he had taken, I don't know, one or two people or whatever, and they scurried off into the woods to go walking along. While we were walking down the main road, War had this whole other little subset that was going through the woods looking for snipers and whatnot. And I think, and I could be wrong on this one, the other thing is I seem to remember red dots. Did we have red dots? Was that the maneuver where we looked around and some of us had dots on our chest, or was that something else?
I think that was the Shaka Sankofa with the dots.
Okay. Well, that was either way, War was doing his hermit or hedgehog shit, running around in the woods like a little armadillo, looking for people aiming at us and whatnot. So appreciate it, War. I appreciate that. So now the question to you, bro: would you do it again?
Yeah, I would definitely do it again. The only thing I would say in terms of hindsight, is that I have to go back and give Brother Darkcide his all due respect for the fact that what he did is he activated the community. As a field marshal, he did that. He straight up brought all elements to Jasper. Them cats that Jasper came back with a whole new sense of what it means in terms of manhood. In fact, I even remember that being one of the things that was brought up in regards to Comrade Joe down there, was that was like basically like a rites of passage for him. He changed his thinking in terms of what it means to be what Black empowerment means. Mind you, he rep Native American, but the point being is it awoke, it basically raised the consciousness of the people that he brought down there. So when he commandeered those apartment complexes and showed the people what it means that we can stand up and what power is if we all stand up together, that was something that was actually able to be reduplicated on a few other occasions in Dallas once that was done. So in hindsight, the only thing I can say is that, hell, I wish we had brought more people so that we could have even more of a strong and lasting and sustainable effect, because the current generation of Panthers, and it kind of goes back to what you was asking me or asked me to describe in terms of the demonstration, protest, and the maneuver. The deal is most people now, like David was saying in regards to social media, their biggest thing is they actually, through social media, they pump themselves up to actually be doing community work, whereas they basically will do a demonstration of community activism and then do a operation of promoting that demonstration of community activism throughout social media to make it appear as though they're ongoingly, consistently empowering the community, as opposed to them doing a simple single thing and then doing a whole lot of promoting of that thing as something that they're ongoing and doing. We don't have enough true empowerment, activism, and community work that's being done by current generations of Panthers. They've forgotten about that. Our survival pendant revolution, which actually should be more or less decolonization programs. Colonization programs are not in effect. So we've lost our community that we once had. With the strength of what it means to be a Panther is not where it used to be. So in hindsight, what Brother Darkcide did, we all should have did.
Sure indeed. Sure indeed. I know you're going somewhere, E. Let me say something real quick. I just want to point something out on this picture. If you look at this picture, you see this brother standing here, the listening audience, you'll see he has a gun in his hand right there, and he has another one on his shoulder. So you had a few brothers that was out there with this type of situation because they was carrying weapons for those who had charge in the field. They wouldn't allow certain of us to carry weapons for whatever reason, maybe legal reasons, whatever reasons, but the brothers had extra weapons. So if it actually went down, that everybody was able to participate and defend, protect, and do what we needed to do. I just wanted the listening audience to pay attention to little things like that. But go ahead, E.
Appreciate it. So here we are coming toward the end, getting ready to close it out. We only got a couple of minutes. And as I said, I want to leave the last words on the subject for Brother Aaron. You know, you're the founder. We all appreciate it. I want to say that I appreciate all you brothers for coming on here again to walk through this shit, kick up some memories, some things I didn't remember. It was nice remembering those things. If we get to do it again, that's outstanding. If not, this has been the shit. So Brother Aaron, if given the chance, start the party, given a chance to go to Jasper, would you, knowing what you know now, and especially considering the things you were going through at the time, because a lot of stuff people don't know, but there's some stuff beyond baby mama drama that this man was going through when all of this, a lot of this shit was starting to unfold. So Brother Aaron, having hindsight and all of that, Mr. Founder, would you, the one who dragged us down there, thank you, bro, would you do it again?
Well, you know, I think that people will always remember me as being the founder, but you guys, all of you guys who were there, everybody that's on this video who was there, were the foundation. I may have been the glue that made everybody stick together. But without you guys, there would have been no foundation. You guys carried the organization, even outside of me leaving in January 2001. So knowing the thing that I know now, would I go back again? I would say I would do it 1,000 times more. And this time, and each time from this point the thing that I know now, I'd make sure that we got a chance to fuck it. I'm just gonna go on and say it. I'd slap the shit out of that damn white sheriff. Yeah, because he deserved that shit. You know, that motherfucker was lying his ass off the whole time. Scared shitless, about to piss in his pants the whole time. He didn't know how to deal with us, and he damn sure didn't know how to deal with me. Because I didn't give a fuck one way or the other. I had already made up my mind, fuck it, I'm ready to die. So you make up your mind what you and your folks want to do. So yeah, I get a chance, I slap his bitch ass right now. You know, that's one thing it's just one of those things, man. You know, you looking at hindsight now, you looking at shit then. Yeah, oh yeah, he get bitch slapped. Just period, point blank.
I got him for you already. There's footage. He was telling the news media that the guns was unloaded. And I unloaded my shotgun at his feet. And when I started jacking them rounds out of there, that motherfucker jumped back. then I took him and loaded him back in there so he could see. And I was saying the shit out loud. Slug, shell, slug, shell, slug. So he know if I caught that first one, I'm gonna put a big asshole in his ass. But it's footage of it. So I
Good. Now I'm on a mission to find that footage. I gotta find that. It's a beautiful thing. But yeah, I also want to echo what Psyche said or what War said. A lot of them cats that came with us were not actual members at the time. They stepped up into a position that they felt they needed to fill on the heels of cats like Darkcide, who commandeered, as was put, to bring cats, which ended up being a life-changing moment for them. And I think that shows a lot of resolution that hides in the hearts of even just your most regular cat on the street. You know, Langston Hughes said something to the effect of that there's enough dynamite in the most passive Uncle Tom black man in this country to blow this country away. And I think that that's kind of what part of that revealed, that these regular cats who were just in the hood doing hood shit one day got up and stood toe to toe with the Klan and the pigs. So again, you know, we come to the end of it. Once again, I want to thank everybody from the founder, Brother Aaron. I appreciate the fact you started this shit and you dragged some of us into it, going down to Jasper and all of those things. I want to thank David for constantly being the live wire, the one who was subject to say any damn thing at any particular point in time. And it actually makes sense once you got over the just craziness of what he just said. And of course, my chairman, the man, the one and only, who drafted myself and Psyche not only into the party, but then turned around and said, okay, you the MOI and you the, what was you, the chief of staff?
Chief of staff.
Chief of staff, who forced us to do that, Brother War. And to echo what Brother Aaron said, my comrades, the toe-to-toe, shoulder-to-shoulder, Brother Isaiah, Psyche, and Brother Dark, that moment created a bond between brothers that were involved, and sisters, because there were sisters there too. I don't think we can, go away without. It was primarily the men, but there were sisters who were there that were in support of what it was we were doing. Both that came with us as well as those that joined us from the community. And so with that, I want to thank everybody for being a part of it. Check the rewind at some point. I'm sure there'll be extra footage here and there that we weave into the post editing part of this show. But this has been your Panther 48, a rewind to the day that we stood like men, because that's what men do when we are called to arms. We step up with no fear, no hesitation. This has been your Panther 48, Brother Psyche.
And we stood on business.
And we out.
All right.